Well, good evening. Hopefully you all be able to hear me now. So, I am Mereak Firmaxe. Some of you may have seen my videos on building and just general adventures with folks. So I have decided to volunteer to stream for 2 hours tonight. It's 11 p.m. my time in Eastern Standard Time, US, and I'll be streaming for the next 2 hours. So I had started this sandbox not too long
Alaskan
ago.
KR911 said hey-oh. Good evening.
Hey, Alaskan. Thanks for coming. So this is a sandbox. Just a couple of things. One, I am using mods. For those of you that are watching or watching after, since I am on Twitch and others, this is a sandbox build. The mods that I am using today are Fat Stacks, Epic Items in any slot, and the new building mod, which brings back old build recipes. You know, as I explore games, I think the healthiest games are the ones that have great groups of people following them, like Alaskan, who's just popped in, and Gaming Grandma, and Jubo, and Davey Firebeard, and many of the folks that stream this game continuously. But also the folks that support the wiki, and I am a little biased here since I help support the wiki. We have a healthy wiki group that keeps the wiki updated. We also have a very strong community online on Discord. We get regular DLCs. I think we're up to our 4th or 5th DLC. In fact, there's a sale right now going on Steam. And on Steam, you can get the game for 40% off. It's like $13, which is...
Rude Bitch 34 said Party Popper Grandma always says, quit adulting long enough to go play.
There
so
you go.
Gaming Ma plays and the kids are crashing in for a cozy raid.
Hey.
Dizzy.
Thank you, Gaming
Kasumi
Grandma.
said hi Mereak clinking glasses.
Hi, Kasumi. So again, strong...
Gaming Ma plays said hey.
Hey. So strong organization, strong Discord, strong community, very strong wiki and organization that's supported by those that enjoy the community. But more than that, it has a strong group of people that make mods for the game. So in all fairness, I am using a couple of mods tonight, as I said. Fat Stacks, which allows you to carry more materials for building. Epic Items in any slot, which I am carrying several epic items on me at one time. This is a sandbox, and I loaded the building mod, which brings back all the pieces that was taken out during version 1.2, as well as adding a few others that are in the game already that we weren't able to build. And so Nexus Mods carries these mods for free. And I would encourage you to join the Discord. If you're wondering how, just go online to the Return to Moria website. And that website has a link to the Discord, and you can come join the community, enjoy the mods on Nexus Mods for free, enjoy the wiki for free, and help contribute, and ask for some help. I am also carrying 2 items that are dev items because this is just a build demo tonight for 2 hours. Those dev items are available. If you go to the Discord, there's a place you can go to get various pieces of equipment and dev items. You don't have to actually mod your game to get it. But those of us that have modded the game can generate these items with one of the mods available on Nexus Mods. Okay.
Alaskan KR911 said hey kids. Settle in for amazing building and advice from Mereak. He inspires me.
Oh, I don't know about that, Alaskan. We have an incredible group of master builders, by the way. Though I have been playing the game for almost 2 years and was part of the original Master Builders Guild, folks like Alaskan Care, Gaming Grandma, Jubo, Firemain Davy, he's just done some incredible build. All of them have done some. Jubo, just unbelievably good builds. And all I can say is thank you for saying that I've contributed and inspired folks. I appreciate that, but you all inspire me as well, and that's the thing. The community is strong, and I think that lays testament to such a strong and growing game. You know, we just got a DLC. It's the Orc Hunters Pack. The game right now is on sale 40% off on Steam, but the DLCs you can get for 25% off. I think someone told me earlier that the whole thing you can get for like 20-30 bucks. It's like a slightly expensive lunch or two at McDonald's. I mean, and I've been playing this for 2 years straight. So, what are we going to do tonight? Yes, I've got some hearts embedded. The game is pretty basic. It is a survival game. You are a dwarf in Moria at the start of the Fourth Age, and you get dropped into Moria with you and alone or up to 8 of your closest friends if you're on a PC or running a server, or 4 if you're on Xbox or PS5. The DLCs aren't required to play the game, but they add a lot of cool features and functions, everything from wardrobe changes to added build materials, and they're generally just a lot of fun, but you don't need them to play the game. All right, so where are we? We are in, as I said, a sandbox. I have a running series in this sandbox where I brought in all end game gear, but it was a brand new sandbox, and I am repairing and building in this sandbox, fighting off the orcs as I go. Kind of a pretend after the fact, because I've completed the game over 40 times, and every time is different, by the way. It is procedurally generated. The map is different. Not what you fight is different, but the tactics keep improving, and that's always fun. So this is my favorite build room. It's normally a 2-pillar resource room. I cleared it out earlier. There are 2 large pillars of material in here. This is the first level, so the materials that are largely available here are iron and coal. So I already dug it out, cleaned up all the garbage, sealed off the ends of the rooms, and I am going to give you some basic instructions on how to build. Now, there are gold embedded in some of these columns on a single face. That's like designed as the main corridor. So this corridor here with the gold, now you can add gold to the pillars, not exactly the same, but very close. Right here, this will be our main entryway. A couple things about the building. If you look at the standard building wall, it is 2 dwarves tall, because dwarves build big. You also have pieces that are singles. You put 2 of them, and technically you can walk in that, but it'd be very tight. 3 is not uncomfortable, but the standard wall height is 4. This room can easily hold 2 floors. Depends how tight you want it to get. But the first thing I like to do after I clean out this room is I block off the doors with whatever material that I have, and then I generally lay out the room. And I already know that I want 2 floors because there's a lot of vertical space here. You'll also notice that the crystals at the top that reflect the sunlight from outside the mountain, there are a series of mirrors. You may have seen that if you watched the latest Tolkien show on Amazon, The Rings of Power. And so you can grow materials here. So this is a good area to grow in. It's a good area to build a base in. You can get multiple floors. Just a quick touch on how this works. You kill bats and get back bat poo. There's no nicer way of saying that. The bat droppings. And of course I've taken the material from all of my other games in here, and you can see that when you put down a farm, there's an indicator on it. The full circle means that it's sunlight and you can grow plants that use sun. And when it's dark, it shows a half moon, in which case you can only grow things like mushrooms or things that grow in the dark. So upstairs, we're going to be able to grow a lot of stuff up here. The height in this room is easily 3 stories tall. But you have to decide first and foremost how you're going to orient your room. So I'm going to orient it so this main pathway here, north-south, is, if you look at the mini map in the upper left-hand corner, the main path in here. Now, you can decide to build at the bottom. However, you will notice that if you build here, you are going to be building at an awkward level because of the stairs. In fact, if you look at that, you notice that from the top stair to the bottom stair is almost, well, it is 3 blocks, which is 3/4 of a story tall. So you have to decide whether or not you're willing to live with that. It can get a little tight if you're running around and it's only 2 stories tall. You can see how tall it is. It's a little claustrophobic. So I personally like picking the largest or the tallest section of the room, and I start to build from there. And the first thing I'm going to do is just put down a couple of walls. Now you can count the dots. Walls are 3 dots wide, 4 dots tall, basically 3x4 squares, just like that. And you can line up the walls to try to get even spacing on the dots, or actually the center of the dots. How the game pieces work. These pieces are pretty basic, and so every piece has, just like when you're building on the floor, invisible connection points, and you can use those connection points to attach to structures that already exist, in which case it should display the clear color of the material. Red means that it is not a good connection, and you should not continue using it. And you can see here by using the dots, I have a very even structure when I just laid out that top level. It's even on both sides. The same amount is showing, and those connection points were strong. Now you can go 3 without a problem. Yellow, you see that there's yellow, there's green, there's solid, and then there's red. And red is bad. Pretty much anything green or yellow is just fine. And so I'm just quickly laying out a rough structure for the second floor. Think about it like building a house, and you don't really need to know how to build a house to do this, but think about laying things out even in square. Now, unfortunately, in this game at this point in time, you cannot rotate anything but a 90 degrees for any pieces. Oh, see, that one was red, so it fell down because it's not being supported on both sides. So let's support it on both sides, and look at that. It is no longer red. The blocks clip together at those connection points as I described. And they are very easy to do. So, by putting those blocks in the room in the center, you not only...
Axbeard XIII said by Mereak's Mithril Beard.
Hey.
School is in session.
Hey, Axbeard. I'm just trying to relay a couple of things, and you know, building has changed a little bit over the years, as you know. And so I'm trying to inform folks on the changes and what works and what doesn't. All right, well, there you go. We've already laid it out. It's a nice, comfortable distance. Now I have those 2 hearths up there to make sure I can build every place in this room. You technically only need 1 per square. If you look at the map here in the center, if you put that hearth in the very center of the room, you will only need 1. But it's very hard to do without it blocking everything up. So, not necessarily easy.
Alaskan 911 said it certainly is. Mereak taught me how to use adamant columns to extend a floor.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Now, let's talk about supports. Now, you notice that I'm already yellow, right? Because I have not supported it with this column. Certain features in the room will provide you with
Axbeard
support.
XIII said sit up and take notes, everyone. You're in good hands.
And so these columns do provide support, and through various versions of the game they have provided different levels of support. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but if you can lock into them, uh, that support carries. So I'll show you. So remember, yellow. Now we're going to extend it from the other side. If you laid it out right, you'll be able to remove every one of those blocks, by the way.
Tyler underscore T2D001 said gonna have to rewatch the VOD when it's not 4 a.m. for sure.
Well, it'll be there. You can check me out on YouTube. I keep all the recordings there. I don't know if how long they keep them on Twitch or Steam. Now, from what I'm demonstrating now, you don't need any of the mods. I'm just using the mods, so I'm not running around half the time trying to bring in materials. All right. So now we've built a couple of platforms. We have our good solid infrastructure. Let's talk a little bit about how adamant works. So adamant is the strongest material. A troll for, well, spoiler, there are trolls in the game. Okay, sorry about that if it was a spoiler for you. But trolls can beat on adamant. Anyway, trolls can beat on adamant, and it's pretty strong. I've never had a troll or any number of trolls beat through in a single session a double adamant wall or an adamant door in a wall. And so doubled adamant entryways, and we can talk about that design at another time. Very simple to do, and pretty much guarantee the safety of your base, because no one likes coming home to a base that's just wrecked. So let's talk about how adamant works. So adamant works different now. It is the main supporting structure, and then granite connects to it halfway, and you can see that here. So you can take adamant and dress it with both sides, creating a structure. And even if something beats on, right, this, it will hold. By the way, adamant is twice as strong as granite, which is twice as strong, at least the last time I did the test, twice as strong as stone. Maximum distances. It's been a while since I've done this one, but the maximum distance that can be supported for a floor you'll see it's starting to get orange. Alright, how many is that? They've greatly increased this lately. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I do not recommend that, by the way. I recommend, so you can easily get quite a number of floors now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I recommend 3, personally. I think 3 is a safe number. 4 is cutting it, particularly if you're going to build above it. Every piece, and this has been true since the beginning of the game, but they tweak the numbers to improve the build system. Every piece has a vertical and a horizontal strength and a weight. And so as you build up, the weight increases, but the strength of the material supports it. And they've tweaked it. It used to be you couldn't build more than 5 or 6 high. And as you see, if there's nothing to support it, unlike some games, it will collapse. It's always best, if you can, to support the material from the base. And so if I was going to build here, I decided, all right, well, if I'm going to build here, I would like to build, and I'm going to support all of these from the bottom. Maybe I don't want these columns to show. And so you can go around the column, for example. And that's all nice and even. Now, what happens when you come over here and that is not the case? Because there's a height difference. Well, I guess there's not a height difference right there. Bad example, John. All right, well, let's finish this out. I want to show you an example. Now, why don't we go around this way? There we go. There's a height difference right there. Because there's no, see, the stairs are on my right, and that's above. Though that probably will be just fine. So it's always best if it's touching the ground. So you can push the materials into the ground like this, but make sure there's no gap. See that gap there? That is not a good gap. So if you're on PC, you use your scroll wheel. You don't want gaps, visible gaps. That is the proper way to lock those in and have them properly supported. You might not realize it, but if there are gaps, it does not convey the strength from a base entirely, and you could hit issues. Let's see. There we go, columns. Columns also provide support, though all the granite pieces basically now support the same. They used to be slightly different. Now you'll notice that this granite column, because it's on the stairs, is solid and it's planted flat and even. This one's got a gap at the bottom, which will not convey proper level of support. So you can just like I did with the wall. Embed a column there. I used to start with floors first. That was a good plan when this all started, but not so much anymore. Let me explain the floors. So when you put down a floor, no matter what kind of floor, it will, if there's nothing to support it underneath, put down a foundation. That's that dark gray area underneath it. You can remove the material and the dark gray foundation will stay. It's the only way to create it. It is durable. It doesn't give you any materials, and it will not cost you any materials to lay a foundation. Now, if you'll notice that it clipped in there. If you put down a floor and it is supported, like the one on the right, because it clipped into the wall and it's supported by that little pillar bottom that I created now on the left, it will not generate a foundation. The one on the right isn't supported by anything, and so it created a foundation. Depending on what you want to do, foundations can be good or bad. I'll give you an example. If you want to take a pillar and embed it in the ground, you cannot do that in a foundation. However, you can do it when there is no foundation. Think of foundations as impenetrable objects. You can delete a foundation. So let's say you wanted to do that, but that is an unsupported floor piece, which means that if you build stuff on top of it, it may fall down. As long as there's support, you're okay. You can also do this. Oh, I should have. Why did I do that? What am I doing here? Sorry. Mouse malfunction. Alright. You can also do this. You can take an adamant block, and this is quite common.
Axbeard XIII said so. What if I want the support of a foundation and I want to sink a column through it?
Yep. Well, that's what this is for, Axbeard. You can use an adamant block and put adamant underneath to act as a foundation. Now you notice that the color when I dropped that was the color of the stone, so it's solid. And because it's not one of the generated foundations, it's placed foundation. You can embed the column in it. Take your time. Make sure things are set. Make sure there's no unwanted gaps. Perspective matters in the game. Notice that there is G to toggle camera height. G gives you a different perspective. Perspective changes what will clip and to support or not. And so remember to use that. Because if you can't get it to fit or you can't get it to clip.
Miss Datakin, we said missed at 2 Hiblink.
first time chat reviewer. Miss Static Kiwi. Hello. So you want to make sure things are flat and even as much as possible to avoid those gaps I was talking about earlier. But change your perspective. If something won't snap into place the way you think it should, then go ahead and change it. All right. So I used to come into a room like this and lay down an all new solid floor, and I wanted it all even and level. I don't bother doing that anymore. Sorry, I'm drinking coffee because it's 11 p.m. and I've been up since 5. Just in the by and by, the more pieces you use in a build, the more it will slow down your environment. Now, they've made continuous improvements to the build system. I've really enjoyed the build system, obviously. But I will tell you that if you can live with less pieces, you're probably going to be happier than if you did not. Don't be afraid to put down pieces to make sure that everything is nice and even. And then removing them later. Use the snapping to your advantage is my recommendation. So here I laid down 2 pieces. And I took one. Don't forget to hold down your E to auto collect.
Alaskan KR911 said surprisingly no slowdown with all those column pieces in my turrets. Well so far. LOL.
Yeah, you have to do builds like Davey or some of my larger builds to get them. I'm surprised you haven't hit any slowdown at all, Alaskan, given the size of your amazing builds. Oh, now I'm choking on coffee. All right. But yeah, you have to push the limits. Which, you know, don't tell Davey, because I think his world is certainly now the king of the test worlds, as it were. They used to use one of my
Alaskan
worlds.
KR911 said not all in same world, smiling face with open mouth and cold sweat.
Yeah, he beat me out on the most insane world a while ago. And you, by the way, if folks are watching, you should really get a hold of Alaskan's World or Jubo or Axebeards or Firemain Davies. Some of their builds are just astounding. I watch them all the time, particularly just in the background, and I'm always learning something new.
Miss Datakiwi said they really are.
Anyway, so proper support, make sure to get the proper support, make sure to check alignment, wiggle the piece a little bit, sometimes helps it to snap in the place where you want it, and don't forget to support underneath it. Even if you don't think you do, you probably do. Okay. Let's close off an area so I can show you. Generally, you can just let things snap into place. Keep your well, just let things snap. And if it looks off or there's a gap, wiggle the piece until there's not. And just let it, don't try to fight it too much, is my personal opinion.
Axbeard XIII said at Mereak Firmaxe you should check out at Miss Datakiwi on Twitch. She's building her way through Moria starting with the Aftermath. It's a great build.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. I've caught one or two of those. Certainly encouraged to anyone to check those out.
Miss Datakiwi said thanks at Axbeard Z8 missed at 2S2.
Didn't mean to cut you out there, Kiwi.
Alaskan KR911 said 100%.
You know, like I said at the start of this, the community is very strong. The game is incredibly enjoyable, even after you finish the content. The DLCs add a lot of flavor. If you are a Tolkien fan, this team cares very much about the lore and how they fit in it. Did that go through? No, I did not do that right. Now, if you want it to cover the top, don't forget you can rotate the piece. Now you have an upper surface that has full support. It's flat and it's structurally sound. Now, if you look really close, because I'm broadcasting in 2K, you can see there are little seams, but there are no gaps, and that is fine. And the more support you can give underneath, the better off you are. You know, even if you wanted to do things like arches, I like using these arches. They're one of my favorite pieces. Don't forget to hold down E and collect your materials. Generally, that looks pretty nice. Also, adamant can be faced, as I just demonstrated earlier. So if you wanted to, you can put a face on your adamant with granite. I guess it's stuck up there. Okay. And you can overlap. I mean, most of the pieces are built to overlap. And overlapping is fine. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit about stairs. So stairs can be tricky. Um, there are a variety of sizes of stairs. And because we cannot rotate and there are no round pieces, and I have an entire set of videos on stairs and the different configurations for stairs. Let's go over to an empty space here. So there's a 3 wide full height staircase and a double height staircase. So let's pull out a wall. So that is a 3 wide, as demonstrated by the dots on the ground. 3 wide, 4 high staircase. But there are shorter staircases and narrower staircases. Staircases come in this basically half height. That's a 1 height. That's a double height. And you can tell because of the space they occupy. See, that's a 1 height. That's a half. And that's a double. Now, as we discussed before, standard wall height is 4 units. This standard wall is 4 high, 3 wide. But you don't always have space for 3 wide. And you don't always need 4 high. Sometimes you need more. And so if you look at this and you say, okay, well, what if I wanted to...
said I have a super tall spiral staircase with no supports that gives X heart palpitations.
I'm sure it does. I'd like to see it sometime, Kasumi. If you have a video, point it out to me. I'll definitely highlight it. I'm always into new spiral staircases. But stairs can be arranged, don't forget, they can be arranged in multiple ways, including stacked on top of one another. So you can take a staircase, put it down. You can provide it some support. And you can put another staircase on top of it. Well, it'd be easier just to do this, I guess. Thus giving you a much higher staircase. Or you can build a platform and then extend a staircase off the side. And of course you can do a switchback staircase. I wouldn't leave it too long like that, by the way. Now we're multiple stories in the air. So lots of configurations to pay attention to. I usually put my staircase somewhere in the center. And I want it to align with the top. but you'll notice it leaves a gap on the ground. So you need to support. So you can use something like this just to get it aligned. Now, I don't like my stairs sticking way out in the center of the room here. And I know it's going to need a little filler staircase to be the right height. I'll probably want a slenderer stair, which is only 2 wide. But I want a 2 wide. You know, there are folks that don't do a lot of planning when they build. And some days I just want to get in the game and build and just have fun. It's when I introduced my grandkids to the game, I was like, this is like Legos, except for adults. It's pretty true, actually. Of course, I think that made them want to play the game even more.
Said, yet I don't plan anything.
I do sometimes. I have videos showing how to build all of the buildings that I've encountered in the game. Past and present buildings, by the way, not just the buildings that you can currently get, but the older ones too. And I really enjoyed doing that, and I drew them all out and worked really hard to make sure I could replicate them as close as possible, considering we don't have all the pieces always. I guess this needs to be 1 higher. Anyway, what else can I talk about?
Axbeard XIII said wait. Lego isn't for adults?
Yes, it is. Lego is certainly for adults. But I guess it was a bad example, actually. Now that you bring that up, yes, Legos is for adults. But it's also for kids. I guess that was the way I enticed them to want to learn to play. Which my 7-year-old grandson has played the game. I bought him a copy a while ago. Don't forget you can change the face with granite. There's a lot of variety of things you can do with the granite to really make things pop. You can, you know, put that on top. Now, not all the pieces are still in the game. I mentioned that before. I am using a mod to bring those pieces back. And I think this is going to be red, and I'll teach you. All right, now I wanted to put that below, but it's red. Now the reason it's red here isn't because it's not going to give support. When it's got that glowy red, which trust me, I think Alaskan and a couple others have got some red that glows so bright I think it's blinding, but this isn't that. It is brighter, but this is telling you that it can't render it. It's not necessarily it won't be supported. It's that translucent, invisible, you can't, it's not like there's a piece like that's red, right? It's, I can't figure out what the heck that, how to render that basically in the game. So the best way to fix that actually is to get rid of the things that are interfering with it and then put them back. It sounds odd, but trust me, it works. Now you notice because of the, it's like an order of operations problem. Now there's plenty of data for it to render the graphics appropriately.
Kashumi said figuring out the ideal build order is half the building battle.
It is interesting, but you know, I understand that it's a matter of
switched
math.
Over here. I got a network error on Twitch.
Well, I'm still broadcasting. I don't know how many people are on Steam.
Said, hey Nibs.
Let's talk a little bit about the different names
said,
for the piece. Different pieces. All right, this is a bottom piece or a baseboard piece.
Alaskan KR911 said, oh.
Actually, this is better. All right, so here's a piece. At the very top,
KR911 said, there you go.
Is a, well, let's start at the bottom.
Axbeard said, looks like Twitch is back.
Weird. Okay, the bottom, that curved area there, if you look at the side, is called baseboard. And the top, the curved area, is called crown. Now, some walls have base and crown. They also have this, I don't know what it's called, but usually in construction the top is called a finial. The bottom can also be called a finial, and this is called a ridge or some type of wainscot. So in my videos you might hear me refer to, I'm looking for a wall with base and crown, I'm looking for a wall with crown and finial. One of the things that they took away that this mod brings back are these pieces that allow you to add the crown, and sometimes with a finial and sometimes with a header, some type of head there. This is a finial. The top one's some type of decorative head. Unfortunately, other than this one, we really don't have the ability to add baseboard. I wish they had a piece that did that, but they don't. I don't know why. You can add a header. Let me get a regular wall. And yes, I know sometimes that looks a little, the graphic on the header looks a little odd. That was a bug they never fixed because they took it away, so there was no reason to have it anymore. And then
Alaskan KR911 said, hey, look at that. Halfway through.
Oh, it's midnight. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. There's also the ribbed pieces, which used to exist. And by the way, you can overlap multiples of these, which just made it ultra cool. Oop, I think I double tapped. Yeah, don't do that. Let's see. So there's a variety of these you could use. And you could add those ridges and finials wherever you wanted. So I'm looking forward, hopefully, for them to get those back, or some form of them. Anyway, so depends on your building style. I like matching walls, so they at least look like they carry forward the surrounding wall. Like, I personally do not like taking a wall like this and putting it next to a wall like that, because the bottoms don't match. The bases don't match at all. The tops do, but the bases don't. Whereas that's just personal preference. I mean, I know a lot of people that are like, I don't care, I'll just build that, that's fine. And if that's your thing, that's cool. But I personally don't like it. Whereas if you build with that, well, the tops and the bottoms match, and it's a nice cleaner look, like you would normally find in construction. Though I think Guy, who's worked in the United Kingdom as a person that restores historical places, tells me all the time that, well, over time
Miss we said, yeah, I don't like when they don't match either.
Yeah, I know. But Guy did tell me that in the UK there's lots of things that don't match because over the centuries they use different techniques to do builds, and I'm like, okay.
Miss we said, it makes me so sad we don't have extra pieces to add the same did sills.
Yeah, I wish we did. Though this mod will give you that ability, and because and I've tested the mod pretty thoroughly now over the last week. Even if you take the mod out, the buildings and all the pieces stay because they are in the game. They haven't been added to the game. They're already there. It just gives you the ability to access them. Another thing that was recently added was this decorative piece, which some of you may have found in your explorations. That is a wooden floor that has never been made available, but it is in the game nonetheless, because it's in some of the buildings. So I was very happy to see this one. I think that is a beautiful floor. Oh, sorry. Alright. What else can I cover? Let's talk a little bit about
Alaskan KR 911 said, it took my breath away when I saw it.
Yeah, that is just a beautiful piece.
Axbeard said, can I see the underside of that new floor piece?
Sure.
Miss we said, it's so beautiful.
And it is paper thin, by the way. Like in the buildings. See how thin it is?
We got orcs.
I actually think because there's not a lot of connection points, it's actually
looks amazing though.
It's actually really easy, Axbeard, to line it up. Look how nice that and quick that lined up. Took me nothing to line that up. I mean, it's not even, obviously, between these two, I don't think.
Kashumi said snaps so much easier than Yubasam flooring.
Yeah, I don't know
Axbeard
why.
said yeah, that was smooth.
But the thinner, well, I guess I do know why. Every piece has a number of those connection points, like these dots. And over time, they've changed how many dots are on every piece. I think to make it easier. The more dots, the more a slight variation in your mouse movement or your controller movement will make it click, and it can get frustrating. But really thin materials have almost no dots. There's probably just one connection point on that entire edge. So when it auto snaps, it can't do anything but snap to where you know, to one place. Anyway, very impressed with all of that.
Alaskan KR911 said also means that is a Vemir then. No support of it don't?
Also, no, it does provide support.
Alaskan KR911 said veneer.
I figured you meant veneer. No, you can build on it. You gotta.
Axbeard said
back.
so will those new floors remain if you remove the mod?
Yes, I tested that. Alright, not even because it's not a 3 by 3 space, but you can build on these.
Axbeard said nice.
Alright, I'm trying. There you go. Those are solid. Those will stay. You can build a foundation underneath it, by the way.
Alaskan KR911 said wow.
See, the foundation does happen.
Miss Datakiwi said Dwarven Engineering.
Yeah, because all these models are in the game and they all have vertical and horizontal strength, and they make up the buildings. It would be different if...
Kashumi said excuse me while I go install a mod.
Yeah, it would be different if we were creating new pieces that weren't in the game. Then if the mod disappeared, the definition of those pieces would disappear. But the definition of all of the pieces, including the old ones, are still in the game since 1.0. So unless they literally removed the buildings and all of
Alaskan
those pieces from the buildings...
Alaskan 911 said LOL Kashumi it is tempting. LOL.
It would not... I mean, then, because they removed all the pieces and all the buildings, then, yeah, they would be removed too. But they're not going to do that. They just hid them. Because all of my old worlds that had them open still have them. Anyway, this isn't really about that. Let's talk a little bit about posts. Let's talk about wood. Let's go, I guess, over here. So, there's different types of posts. I've done some testing in the not so distant past, and I can tell you that if you use a single post like the one on the left or one that's completed like the one on the right, as long as every piece is touching, and they are. Obviously you see the cracks, but because they're individual
Alaskan
pieces.
KR911 said restraining myself. Smirk.
Okay, all right. As long as there's no gaps there, they will support the same amount of weight. You can also overlay them, so you can give them different finials at the top. It doesn't matter.
Axbeard XIII said that's what she said.
Yeah, I knew that's where you guys were going. Okay. But you can create any number of combinations, and those little angled brackets, the fancy ones, or what are they called? Ornate crowns, or ornate double crown, or whatever. Or the normal wooden crown that's not ornate. They actually don't add any structural support. I know in real life they would add structural support, but to the floor above, but in the game they do not. I have found no evidence that having them there is anything but decorative. However, the columns themselves do offer support. And of course you have our new...
Alaskan KR911 said yeah, that was annoying to find out.
Yeah. Have our new leaf colored or with the ivy covered things. And that just adds... and by the way, you can overlay them to make it denser. And that one's really covered. Let's see. Wooden stairs. The nice thing about wooden stairs is you can walk underneath them. Unlike the solid granite stairs, which obviously you cannot. Scaffold can be used. I personally don't like the wooden floor, the basic wooden floor. I'm like, my God, that's awful looking. I think they're coming out. They have some pictures of the Bjorn DLC that's coming next in the summer time frame. And
Axbeard said plantable sunken moss mod on Nexus now.
Oh, interesting. Where was I? This is what happens when it's midnight. So I don't like the look of this. However, if you look at some of the wood pieces, it actually, in my opinion, looks better.
Axbeard said Burning DLC floors coming. Alaskan KR911 said they should give us adamant stairs that are stone versions of the wood stairs. Stone look but thin.
Yeah, that would be cool. So, I don't like the wood floor. However, this structural wood plank scaffolding does look a lot better, and I regularly use it. Now, there's this, which is called a balcony, and it's got a longer piece on it. Now, at one point in the game, this used to be structurally stronger than this piece.
Miss Datakiwi said I use the quick platforms as floor many times because I like the paneling.
I do too. I use the quick platforms as well, which I can show somebody. Yeah, that even looks better than that. I don't. I mean, that is very rustic. Like, yeah. I don't know. As a woodworker, that this bothers me. I'm like, couldn't you put those strapping underneath so people couldn't see it? I mean, literally, look at this thing. Underneath looks better.
Alaskan KR911 said it looks like a broken pallet.
Yeah, it does. But that looks better, in my opinion, than the top. I mean, that's the way I would expect it to look, but the top be a lot better. Anyway, no reason to complain. We're about to get other options. Anyway, what I was saying was, there was a point in the game where these balconies, because of the number of connection points, were stronger than this. But in the last couple of versions of the game, since 1.3 on, I have noticed no difference whatsoever in the structural integrity. So it's a matter of aesthetic choice. Just in the by and by. By the way, you can, if there's another thing I like to do sometimes. Let's say you want to get structural integrity, right? You want a structural wall. So I wanted to carry that over here.
Bring the big guys. No.
And I like building off of things and then, you know, removing it later. Let's say, you know, because I want everything lined up. If you freehand it and then you try to connect things later, they will not snap into place appropriately. And so I use little tricks like that to maintain alignment all the time. But let's say, so now I have an adamant wall, and that is structural. But this is not anymore. The pillar is, but this wall is not. This wall now is. And so don't feel like it all has to look like that. If you wanted this to be a rustic area, well then you can just add stone. And like the granite, the stone snaps halfway through the adamant. And that adds a nice little look to the front of the stone. If you really wanted to, you could put down stone base. Though there's some type of base in this room already. Yeah, if you want everything to snap, maybe I should demonstrate that again. Remember, everything is relative to one another. So if you can get it to snap here, you know that if you draw it closer to the
Axebeard
wall.
said I love to add stone or granite skins to adamant.
Now you've maintained alignment because everything is nice and tight and there's no gaps. And so when you remove those, oh, how'd you get here? I thought I took all you out. Now you know that that is exactly where you need it to be if you wanted to add something in front of it later. Now all of those connect properly. None of them are free-handed and they give perfectly solid connections. So remember, maintain the flow, maintain the consistency as you carry the stuff back and forth. And if you need to get around something, that's easy. Now that wall will provide support. This wall will not. They used to. I don't know why that changed, actually. That was kind of annoying. But if you find the this problem and it's just not working, remember, just put a wall in front of it. Just make sure that wall is in alignment with the other walls. All right.
Alaskan KR911 said, I have to admit, one day I was following technique to build bridge and it wasn't working, but
One day I wasn't following technique to build bridge and it wasn't working, but I'm not following your Alaskan. Or it's
Alaskan KR911 said, it was the exclusion zone at Hazard Bridge.
yes. Well, there are zones in the game. That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. There are zones in the game, no matter what you do, you're hosed. They're just not going to allow you to build there. Because they'd be game breaking, right? I mean,
Alaskan KR911 said, I didn't know it existed, lol.
There are areas of the game, the bridge that Gandalf destroys in the Lord of the Rings. That area and the large crystal descent caverns, you can't build easily on all the walls, particularly the crystals. You can't build on the crystals themselves. Spoilers for those of you that didn't know about those, but sorry about that. But hard to have these conversations and not have a few spoilers. I'll try to keep it to a minimum. I'm not even going to get into decoration, but here's another item that a lot of people are like, well, how do I produce a smooth
Axbeard
wall?
said, in the doors of Durin and the aftermath.
Well, there's another too. Well, I can tell you how you produce a smooth wall. This piece right here will help you produce a smooth wall. In fact, I learned this because some of the old buildings used to use these for a back wall. Smooth wall. And you can rotate them and try to get a little bit of variance. Anyway, I've also used the columns, and earlier today I was demonstrating this. If you have a void, now the way these columns work is the number of connection points along the length of the column, or any piece, by the way. The number of places it touches another connection point, the stronger the connection, and the more support that it will give you, particularly over a greater distance. And so if you have I don't want to collide with that. So let's say you have a pillar here. When this pillar connects to it, and these pillars do snap together halfway, all the connection points on the left-hand side are connected to the connection points on the larger pillar. And therefore they convey the strength of that pillar and that connection. Now, I'm going to go down. How do I describe this? Okay, so we had the large pillar, and then we started, that's double height, and then we started connecting full height pillars till I got to approximately a deep yellow. The strength horizontally across left to right is being conveyed, but because the weight is unsupported underneath it under here, the strength decreases as you go to the right. But the top down, the vertical strength doesn't.
Axebeard said worth noting, for quick deconstruct, just destroy the bottom row and any connection points. The rest will explode.
Yeah. So the vertical does not get any worse. See? So one would think that, wow, if you put this huge column on the end, it would be worse than the one underneath it. It's not. It's going to be the same, which is odd and not true to real life, but I think it just made the math simpler. Now you can use that to your advantage, by the way, because it doesn't care if you connect up or down as long as you connect to something. Well, you still allow me to connect up. I guess the ceiling in here doesn't give support anymore. Well, that is disappointing. Bummer. Well, some ceilings, at least they used to give support. Now, if you suddenly give more support, everything off of it is now, notice the yellow has gone away, and you're back to full strength for the same number that you were before. This is why using the tall pillars embedded into the ground on, like, say, a rough cliff edge, the more connection points, the more likely it is to touch the side of the foundation, the more likely it is to distribute more load for you and remain strong. So I regularly filled gaps and crevices and even out, you know, damaged areas with those pillars embedded into the ground for support. And they work very well, for sure. All right, let me drink a little more coffee. All right. Adamant barriers make great defensive measures, though I have it on really good authority that these are indestructible and the mobs will not currently, as of 1.5, attack them. So if you use these slate shingle covered roofs for defensives, they get confused and they won't attack them. Which is a nice little tidbit if you find an area that you really need to defend yourself in. Was that you, Alaskan, that came up with that? I think it was. Might have been Jubo. One of you came up with it. That was amazing, by the way. I had never noticed that.
Alaskan KR911 said they actually do attack them now.
Oh, no, they fixed that? Who squealed? Oh, darn.
Alaskan KR911 said but they do get focused on it.
Okay. Well, nix what I just said about that one. I thought that was a nice little tidbit. I thought that was cool. Oh, by the way, if you do use wooden pillars.
Alaskan KR911 said but they hold up really good.
Oh, I'm sure they do. They're really strong. If you use a wooden pillar, you can... Where is that? Lattice. Use lattice.
Alaskan KR911 said I had them in desolation and the Gund Abbot barely dented them.
Oh, that's cool. The lattice will support. Now, if that one was...
Axbeard said you should talk about the stability of furniture and rugs.
I think they're going to end up fixing that. That one made me uncomfortable. The one where you could set up defenses, that one, I was like, all right.
Alaskan KR911 said OMG yes.
Anyway, you notice that the last piece that I'm placing here, once I supported with wood, it was the correct color, so the floor is stable. Now remember, it goes in the strength of the materials and how much load that they can take, both horizontal and vertical load, and also provide support, is based on a mathematical formula where wood is the weakest material, stone is the next, and sometimes equally is weak material to wood, then granite, and then adamant. They also have what I would call hit points or damage points, how much damage they could take before they're destroyed. Wood is the weakest, stone next, granite, and then adamant. Pretty much a doubling. Though recent tweaks, I can't guarantee by the time you see this video they wouldn't have tweaked it a little more, but it went stone, let's say stone was a value of 1 in strength, granite was a 2, and adamant was a 4. So it was doubling each time, but I think you get the point. Let's see. Gold is pretty straightforward. It's a wall with gold on it. All the columns and pillars are basically provide the same support. One would think a column like this would be stronger than the other column, but there's no evidence that that is true anymore. These columns provide the same vertical support, other than there's a larger area to connect to. I should say that this is as of 1.5. Alright. Adamant doors, adamant windows, doors, windows, roofs, sloped barriers, all pretty self-explanatory. Though the number of combinations of these things is quite amazing. There are some videos out there of people arranging and embedding furniture and things into blocks of stone and wood and really creating some shockingly magnificent looking pieces by wedging two things you'd think to yourself, oh my god, that would never work. And they're just amazing. Just amazing. And so think creative. Embedding things into other things is certainly a way to go. Right? If you wanted... Here's some countertop. I should have put that down first, shouldn't I? See if you wanted them half embedded. I wanted them even, but there we go. Then you wanted to take something, oh, I don't know, like a roasting kit.
Kashumi said I just had to look if that was my dwarf starving.
Yeah, I'm starving. But, see, you could embed things. I know that doesn't look very good, but you get the point. You can embed things and... I'm not dead yet. Anyway. Alright, I'll eat before someone has a heart attack here. Let's see. There is a small exploit that that Axebeard just mentioned, which is furniture today technically can be used offensively and well, defensively and to build things.
Alaskan KR911 said, what are your favorite things to mesh together?
I don't really have any favorites. I'm more of an infrastructure, try to figure out the puzzle type builder. Alaskan, I'm not a decorator. Like my wife likes to decorate. So you can technically build with furniture, and these things are indestructible. So there's a little bitty exploit today where you can build things and maybe we gotta put in I wasn't there when you got the rug to float. Can't seem to get them to support anything. Anyway, you could create a wall of these things, and monsters pretty much can't get through them. They can't walk through them, and they can't destroy them. So there was a trick where you could allow them to float in the air because they're not considered building material, I think, and therefore they're not part of the process to determine whether or not they'd
Axebeard
fall.
said I love to push brew kettles and tanks into walls.
Oh, that's a good one.
Alaskan KR911 said uh-oh. They fix it already? Dang, I haven't made a flying carpet yet.
Yeah, there was a way to get carpets to float like this in midair. I don't know if they fixed it or not. Probably not. It's a little esoteric, I think, for them. Nope. Maybe I shouldn't have done that one first. Alright, you're now giving me a hard time.
Kashumi said I just made a flying carpet, it still works.
It does. I haven't done one myself.
Axebeard said try just touching the rug to a wall, no floor.
Okay. Ah, there you go. Yep, flying carpet. Just like the floating chairs. So there's a system.
Kashumi said I used step ladders on top of each other, then the rug on top of that.
Ah.
Alaskan KR911 said OMG amazing.
Thank you, X. Thank you,
Axebeard
Kasumi.
said now build a planter box on it.
So, yeah, you can do that. These items are not considered part of building materials. So there is a subsystem that regularly on a schedule goes through the environment and determines whether or not something is supported or not. And since 1.0, they've made tweaks to that system to what we have today in 1.5. And so when you see the dust start to fall or whatever, it still means that there is some unsupported element there or something that the system cannot resolve. One of the triggers they talking to the devs to fix that is to delete a piece or two in the surrounding area and re-add them. It forces a recomputation of all of the strengths of all of the materials and all of the support in the build that you're currently in. And so whenever I see the dust now, which is in my builds very rare, I immediately stop. I delete a couple of pieces, which triggers
Axebeard said, yeah,
revaluation.
I don't recommend using furniture in any meaningful construction.
No, I wouldn't either. This is a cute thing, but it would be funny to stop a troll in his tracks with a bunch of chairs, though. That is amusing to me. Let's see. Of course, there's lots of things to decorate with. My wife has a very long list that I've provided. You can, if you sign up on the Discord, there's basically a feature request list. You can look up my request list and it'll be in there. But there's a ton of furniture and stuff like that to decorate in with. Though I just did think about this. One of the things I do like to do, which wasn't my idea.
Axebeard said, oh, if you haven't run your own tests, the ale kegs work 100% the same as the naturally occurring ones.
Oh yeah, I did. I did, Axebeard. This mod that I've been using allows you to create.
Alaskan KR911 said TTHE stacked chairs would make an interesting filler wall. 70s vibe.
Yeah, you can take a mod. This is part of the mod too. The ale kegs you can find and get evening ale out of is available with the mod, and it will stay if you uninstall the mod. Where was I going?
Axebeard said the number of servings is random.
Oh, it is. I didn't notice that. I haven't tested if it auto refills though. Some days you want a window that's a little fancier, some type of barrier. And I think Davey was one of the first that I saw this. And I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I stole this outright.
Axebeard said if you place another the servings are usually different, they do refill.
Oh, that's cool.
Kashumi said at my job we call this building on the work of others.
Oh, I just stole it. I'm not even I'm not even shy about it. No, Anyway, you can create all kinds of designs like this for like large bay windows. I mean, obviously we don't have glass, but
Axebeard said I use this method for fireplaces and windows, sometimes walls too.
It does.
Alaskan KR911 said you can even do fancy art installations. Wink.
Yep. And you can add layers. There's all kinds of things you can do. I got 10 minutes left. Wow, 9 people on Twitch. I think that's the most anyone's ever watched me on Twitch. Thank you for that, Alaskan. Or, no, Gaming Grandma. Gaming Grandma, thank you for that. Let's see. You know, building is a part of the game. You know, it is a survival game, and it is true to lore. It's very cheap. I've gotten hundreds, if not, well, I'd hate to admit that I probably have near 1,000 or more hours into this game, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. Cheapest entertainment I think I've ever had, and the possibilities are endless. And I like the fact that the game is well supported. Large community, friendly, the wiki, it's cheap, DLCs on the regular, talk about further expansions all the time. We get to chat with the devs, couple times a year. Um, just a lot of support, you know. And when I start looking at games now, I look, do they have the people modding them? Do they have people continuously working together cooperatively to play
Axbeard
them?
said those are rookie numbers. I'm up to 2,500 hours.
Yeah, I didn't want to admit how many hours I actually had, Axbeard. It makes me sound odd.
Axbeard said, just kidding.
uh, yeah, I don't know how many hours, but I have a lot of hours. And I enjoy it. It helps me relax after work or whatever. But I'm telling you, it's a good deal right now. And if you don't have the game, there are more
Alaskan
giveaways going on.
KR911 said not odd. Just a big fan.
And, you know, there's always somebody here to help you out. And there's several groups like KEG or the Bare Knuckle Brawlers Guild for a little bit of extra fun. You can try your hand of beating up a bear and join the guild, the Bare Knuckle Brawlers Guild that Xbeard runs, or there's a group called KEG that helps people find things that they can't find during their adventure, help them out, and it's just a ton of fun, and for a very, very, very
Kashumi said just be nice to the goats.
cheap price. No, goats are meat and walking leather. Yeah, that's it. They're not pets. Even when they are pets, you still might eat them. Anyway, we have a little rivalry here. People love their goats.
Axbeard said punching bears, definitely therapeutic.
I also like crafting weapons and armor, so something I enjoy. Can't really think of much else. Does anyone have any questions while I'm here? You can catch my stream. I don't stream at regular times. I stream when I can.
Plays said watching with great anticipation.
Oh, Gaming Grandma's still here? Thank you, Gaming Grandma.
Alaskan KR911 said so is hitting the bear with my sword axe lol.
I was just saying.
Axbeard said I love everything about this game.
Yeah, I do too. Well, thank you for all those folks that came by on Twitch to watch me. I think 9 is the most I've ever had on Twitch watching. And the fact that they stuck with me all this time is quite amazing. Thank you so much for that raid. I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, when you say raid to me, I'm thinking World of Warcraft. You gotta go into a big dungeon with 50 people to go slay a dragon and see Leroy Jenkins happen in live action. But thank you. I appreciate that. So, anyone have any questions?
Axbeard said you were up to 14 at one point.
Huh?
You'll be affiliate before you know it.
I haven't really pushed for that. I'm worried about maintaining it because I'm so irregular when I stream when I can, you know. And I mean, I enjoy the game. I do the recordings. I do the streaming, but you know, life has a habit of giving away with me, and having a regular schedule is something my wife and I talked about doing. In fact, you can, anyone who's interested can watch my wife and I, or sometimes my wife, I, and daughter, or go back through history and watch my sister and I, or my sister's son-in-law and I, or any combination of my
Alaskan
son.
KR911 said thanks for streaming late.
Oh,
Tell
not
the
a
missus
problem.
can't wait to see her in stream again.
Yeah, we'll be doing that too. So if you want to see people playing the game in a live run through from beginning to end, either solo or in a group, with no real mods or any of this stuff, or not talking about building, just playing the adventure, I have several series online that's still relevant. You can help yourself going watch them on YouTube. And I would appreciate that. So in 4 minutes, if anyone's got a question, I'll be happy to answer it. Nothing?
Miss Datakiwi said it was very enlightening, so thank you for the stream and lesson.
Well, I try to give somebody something that was a little
Alaskan
different.
KR911 said, what is the meaning of life?
42. The answer is 42, Alaskan. We know that. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Great book. Well, I think building is one of the most interesting parts of the game. So if you get the game, you got to build. Even if you build just a little bit.
Axebeard said thanks for all the fish.
All right. Well, it's a couple minutes early, but it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't see a lot of people asking questions. Oh, I'm on 11 on Twitch now. Wow, that's amazing. So, I will sign off here, I guess. Yay, as my 4-year-old grandson would say. Y'all have a good time in the mines. Let's restore Moria. Have a good night. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
Axebeard said good night.